Forget about those main quests. Put those side missions on hold. Hell, let's even ignore the optional extra activities. When developers create games, they make sandboxes of varying scopes, which have us interacting with the game's world and doing things that we just can't bring ourselves to stop doing. Because these appeal to us for some mysterious reason we can't put our finger on, even if they're the most inane, meaningless, random activity. In this feature, we'll be taking a look at such things that we can't stop doing in games. Some of these are more general things that can be found in many games, while others might be more specific to certain titles or franchises. So without further ado, let's get started. Jumping into water. What's our first instinct when we see a body of water in a video game, however big or small? Whether that's to check whether or not the main character can even swim, or to dive underwater to collect hidden treasures, or to hunt the aquatic beasts and animals below, or just because the water looks that damn good, when we see water, we all get that uncontrollable urge to jump in and splash about. Jumping off cliffs. Picture this, you're standing on the crest of a huge spire, looking out over the beautiful landscape stretching out in all directions. The towers and mountains that were once towering over you now look smaller than your thumb from such heights. What's the first thing you want to do when you see all this? Well, you want to jump off. Either it's because of that indescribable thrill that you'll feel when you do it, or maybe because you just want to check whether the game has invisible walls. It's almost like an involuntary reflex. In fact, it's something we all like doing so much, Assassin's Creed pretty much turned it into a proper core game mechanic, as did, more recently, Breath of the Wild. Checking the destructibility of the environment, or of NPCs. We all appreciate a good, detailed world crafted by developers for us to craft our own stories in, but there's something else we appreciate even more, being able to burn it all to the ground. When you're driving on the streets of an urban jungle, or walking through a city at night with a rifle casually slung across your back, or trudging through a dense forest, you can't help but wonder, what happens if I crash my car into this fence? Will it crumble? If I shoot these walls, will the bullets damage them? If I swing my torch around, will I be able to set fire to the woods? On the off chance the answer to those questions is yes, don't hesitate to go crazy and destroy everything you see. Failing a QuickTime event on purpose. QTEs have become a rare breed in video games in recent years, which is, in many ways, a relief. When pulled off well, they can punctuate cinematic set-piece moments to great effect, but a lot of the times they end up feeling like they're limiting interactivity. Regardless of how good or bad a QTE is, though, one thing we can't resist doing is failing on purpose to see what gruesome deaths our character will die as a result of our failure. Poor Spider-Man probably has never imagined he'd die by crashing into a slab of concrete because he failed to time his web swing right, but hey, at least you get a kick out of it. Completing missions without breaking stealth. Though ripping and tearing through hordes of enemies is incredibly fun, taking full advantage of the game's stealth mechanics can also be very satisfying. Sneaking through enemy encampments like a ninja, dispatching enemies without catching anyone's attention, hiding bodies in dumpsters like a professional, combining all the tools at our disposal to get through an entire mission without ever breaking stealth requires patience, but if you pull it off, it feels good. In the past few months themselves, we've played games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Hitman 2 that have encouraged players to sink dozens of hours into doing just that. Messing about with emergent systems. Open worlds have become the way to go for most major AAA publishers this generation, and while there's a case to be made for the value of a tighter, more linear experience, there's one aspect of open world gameplay that's seen a lot of growth lately that makes this style of game design irresistible, and that's emergent gameplay. When games like Metal Gear Solid 5 or Breath of the Wild put players in a huge sandbox where dozens of systems are constantly interacting with each other, it encourages players to mess around with those systems, to experiment, and to mix and match, and to come up with completely new ways of interacting with nearly everything in a game. You want to use stasis on an enemy in Zelda while it's in the middle of swinging its weapon so that it can be frozen in place and then be struck by lightning at just the right moment? Well, go right ahead and do it. You want to slide down a cliff in a cardboard box in the Phantom Pain to knock your enemy's legs out from under them while doing so? Well, of course you can. The possibilities are endless, and discovering even more ridiculous stuff to do is something that's led many of us to put dozens, if not hundreds of hours into these games. Talking to every single NPC in New Town. This is something that you'll relate to, especially if you play RPGs, regardless of what era of games you prefer. When you visit a new town or city or location, you almost feel obligated to check every nook and cranny and enter every building to seek out every single NPC and hear what they have to say. They can talk about completely meaningless things, or drop some interesting tidbits of lore, or maybe hand you some side quests. Either way, it's almost always worth it. Playing Gwent in The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3. Come for the dramatic narrative, tight writing, and memorable characters. Stay for this random card combat game that has no bearing on any of that other stuff. You may very well be on the quest to save your surrogate daughter. The world might very well be facing the threat of dangerous monsters. That neighboring village sure might be in need of a professional monster hunter to be able to survive. But you can put all of that on hold. For now, you need to scour the world to collect those cards, seek out new players, and play just one more damn game of Gwent. Hogtying People in Red Dead Redemption. No matter how many times you say howdy, and hey there, or hi there mister, to random passersby in Red Dead Redemption 2, at heart you'll always be a monster, and it's all your lasso's fault. This is an activity that we couldn't stop doing in both Red Dead Redemption 2 and its predecessor, hogtying people, getting on our horse, and galloping off into the sunset while that person is being dragged behind us, before hitting their head on a rock and dying a gruesome death. We know, it sounds horrible, but this is a game about outlaws in the wild, wild west, so you know, when in Rome. Fatalities in Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is the poster boy for gore and violence in video games, and the poster boy's poster boy for those things are its fatalities, the microcosmic representation of everything that the series is about. And sure, while we're all about the incredible depth to be found in the series' mechanics, and the addictive online play, and the increasingly over-the-top campaigns that it puts out, the one thing that we keep coming back to and obsessing over with each new entry is the fatalities. Annoying guards in Metal Gear Solid. When in stealth, objective number 1 should always be to sneak past enemies unnoticed, but Metal Gear Solid gives the tool to do things that fly in the face of that. Simple things, such as being able to knock against a wall to alert an enemy and running away while they check the source of the sound over and over again, or choking enemies till they're unconscious and then waiting for them to wake up only to choke them back to sleep again. These are the things that, for whatever reason, we just can't stop doing. Glory kills in Doom. Just like Mortal Kombat, Doom has built a name for itself by being gloriously, ridiculously violent, with explosions of guts and bright red fountains of blood. The glory kills of Doom and the upcoming Doom Eternal allow us to obsess over that aspect of the series over and over and over again in the most concentrated manner possible. Sure, it helps that you get actual gameplay benefits from those glory kills, but we just really want to see the Doomslayer shred demons with creative violence. Destroying small enemies with the Fat Man in Fallout 4. It's not like Fallout 4 doesn't give us plenty of tools of destruction to wreak havoc on the wasteland with, but the one that we keep coming back to without fail is the Fat Man, the mini shoulder-mounted nuke launcher. And the one way that we can't help but using it is firing away at the tiniest little enemies that we can lay our eyes on. See that rat in the distance? Or that unassuming moth? Or that speck of dirt? Fire away. Is it a waste? Well, absolutely, but there's something very satisfying about killing a pixel-sized enemy with a frickin' nuke. Shooting off zombie limbs in Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2, the 2019 remake, has probably the most detailed, disgusting-looking zombies that we've ever seen. You can see the skin rotting off their faces. You can see individual bullet holes and knife slashes in their clothes and flesh. You can even aim with precision and shoot their limbs off individually. For some sadistic reason, that's what we keep doing over and over. Shoot a zombie's leg off, and then watch it stumble towards you. Shoot the other leg off, and watch it crawl forward with no legs. Shoot one of its arms off, watch it use the remaining arm to pull itself forward. Then shoot that arm off too and just watch it wiggle on the ground like a worm. And then put it out of its misery and blow its head off. Okay, yeah, I might have issues. And that wraps it up. If you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos daily. Also, don't forget to switch on the bell notification icon, that way you don't miss out on any of our videos.